I discovered my wife fabricated a fatal diagnosis to manipulate me into transferring my inheritance. After finding evidence of her deception, I secured the funds in a trust and presented her with divorce documents at the medical center. I'm married to Rebecca for 7 years. We connected through friends, dated 2 years before a modest wedding ceremony. Everything seemed ordinary until my father's death 14 months ago from complications related to heart disease completely shattered me. He was my closest confidant, my guide, the man who showed me both automotive repair and basic human decency. His estate came to me, a mortgage-free property, accumulated savings, and a substantial life insurance payout. After liquidating the house and organizing finances, I controlled roughly $487,000. Not retirement money, but genuinely transformative wealth. My profession as an HVAC technician provides adequate income without extravagance. Rebecca manages part-time hours at a boutique clothing shop. We lease a modest 2-bedroom unit, operate older vehicles, and maintain frugal habits. The inheritance represented our pathway to improvement, perhaps homeownership, starting a family, or both possibilities together. 3 months back, Rebecca's behavior shifted. Constant fatigue, persistent headaches, frequent absences from work. Then the devastating announcement arrived. "There's something I need to discuss with you." She'd visited multiple physicians. They discovered abnormalities. My pulse stopped completely. What kind of abnormalities? Full emotional collapse followed. Severe complications. Potentially catastrophic. The specialists were conducting additional testing, but preparation for worst-case scenarios seemed necessary. I held her through the sobbing. Questions poured out: which tests, which physicians, which medical facilities? Her responses remained frustratingly vague. Specialists, oncology departments, secondary consultations. She claimed she wanted certainty before causing me unnecessary worry. Subsequent weeks brought endless appointments. She'd return home drained, occasionally with bandaging covering blood draw sites. Weight dropped noticeably, something I now understand was deliberate dieting. Conversations turned toward organizing final arrangements. Then the financial request emerged. "I've been considering something. If anything happens to me, I want you protected, but I also need to ensure my mother's security. She's aging and depends on me significantly." I nodded, not yet seeing the manipulation. "Perhaps we should consolidate your inheritance into joint access. Or potentially transfer portions directly under my name. That way, if something occurs, the administrative complications become manageable." Something felt wrong. I couldn't identify it precisely, but my father's wisdom echoed internally: money reveals people's authentic character. "Let me consider this carefully," I responded. She didn't pressure me that evening, but the following 2 weeks brought escalating demands. Her mother called me weeping about her terror regarding her daughter's condition. Her sister sent messages about fulfilling family obligations and demonstrating support. Rebecca brought home actual legal paperwork for my signature. "This simply adds me to your accounts for protection purposes. In case I'm unable to manage things. In case I'm not present anymore." I examined the documents carefully. They weren't simple account additions. They would transfer $300,000 directly into her ownership. The remainder would enter joint accounts with her complete access. "I need my attorney to review these documents," I stated. Her reaction was explosive. "An attorney?" She was dying and I wanted legal involvement. She simply wanted basic security. "I just want proper verification that everything's handled correctly." "You don't trust me? After everything we've shared?" "I'm fighting for survival and you suspect fraud." I apologized and requested more time, but something gnawed persistently at my consciousness. That evening, while she showered, I committed an action I'm not proud of. I accessed her phone and discovered her message history with her mother. The content made my blood freeze. "Mother, has he signed the paperwork yet?" "Rebecca, not yet. He's being resistant. Wants attorney involvement." "Mother, increase the pressure. Use the headache symptoms again. Consider fainting if necessary." "Rebecca, I'm trying. He's becoming suspicious. Might need more dramatic measures." "Mother, we didn't invest this much effort for nothing. Get those signatures before he discovers the truth." I continued scrolling and found conversations with her sister. They'd orchestrated this scheme for months before my father even passed away. They anticipated the inheritance and developed their con. The doctor appointments were shopping excursions. The blood draws were spa treatments. The weight loss was intentional crash dieting to appear ill. No illness existed. No cancer. No specialists. She maintained perfect health. My hands trembled as I returned her phone to its position. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed strategic planning and legal protection before making any moves. The following morning, I contacted my father's estate attorney and explained everything. He responded with professional horror. First priority, don't sign anything. Second, relocate that money somewhere inaccessible to her. A trust would be ideal. Third, document everything possible. The next week involved quiet evidence gathering. I screenshot her messages and backed everything to cloud storage she didn't know existed. I pulled bank statements showing her appointment dates coincided with charges at nail salons, restaurants, and shopping centers. I located her medical paperwork in her nightstand drawer, printed from some dubious website, not from any legitimate hospital. Then I acted decisively. I established an irrevocable trust and transferred $450,000 into it. My younger brother became trustee. The remaining $37,000 stayed in my personal account for legal expenses and living costs. I filed for divorce. My attorney recommended serving her in a semi-public location to prevent false accusations. She had another appointment scheduled, supposedly requiring scans at the hospital. I knew from her texts it was actually brunch with her mother to strategize about obtaining my signature. I appeared at the hospital waiting area at exactly 10:47 a.m. She sat with her mother, laughing over cafe coffees. Not remotely resembling someone awaiting cancer scans. She noticed me and her expression cycled through 15 different emotions. Surprise, confusion, then panic. What are you doing here? I sat across from them, completely controlled. I wanted to deliver these personally. I handed her the envelope. She opened it and I watched her face crumble as comprehension arrived. Divorce papers. What is this? I'm sick and you're serving me with divorce. You're not sick. You never were. Her mother intervened. How dare you? My daughter is fighting for her life and you. I displayed my phone with a screenshot of their text messages. I know everything. The fabricated illness, the plan to obtain my inheritance, all of it. Complete silence. Her mother's face drained of color. Rebecca attempted recovery. Those are fabricated. You manipulated those images. I can't believe you would. Your oncology appointment last Tuesday was at a day spa. I have the credit card receipts. Your specialist consultation on the 15th was brunch at that French bistro downtown. I have location data from your phone. Should I continue? More silence. Then her mother stood. You have no legitimate claim to that money anyway. Your father never liked her. He should have provided something to help this family. This family attempted theft using a fabricated terminal illness. I think we're finished here. I stood to leave. Rebecca grabbed my arm. Please. I made an error. I panicked. I was frightened about our future and I just. You spent 3 months pretending to die. You involved your entire family. You printed counterfeit medical documents. This wasn't an error. This was fraud. I left them sitting there. Rebecca was crying, genuine tears this time. Her mother was already on her phone, probably summoning reinforcements. Now I wait for legal proceedings to begin. My attorney says the fraud evidence will significantly benefit the divorce process. The trust remains untouchable. For everyone asking, no, I don't feel guilty. She didn't simply lie about illness. She weaponized my grief over losing my father. She observed me at my absolute lowest and calculated how to profit from it. That's not a mistake. That's character. 2 weeks later. This situation became messier than anticipated, but also more vindicating. After serving the papers, Rebecca didn't return home that night or the following several nights. She's been staying with her mother. But her family launched full damage control mode. First, her mother attempted the misunderstanding approach. She called 3 days after the hospital confrontation. I think we all need to sit down and communicate like adults. There's been considerable miscommunication. Miscommunication. You texted her to increase pressure and faint if necessary. What part of that was miscommunication? You're removing things from context. She was stressed about the marriage and. Stop. Don't contact me again. Everything proceeds through attorneys now. She disconnected. Then the real campaign started. Her sister sent an extensive email accusing me of emotional abuse and financial manipulation. Claimed Rebecca only acted as she did because I was controlling and she felt trapped. That I isolated her from family and friends. That the inheritance should have been marital property anyway and I was selfish for attempting to keep it. I forwarded the email to my lawyer without responding. Then the attempted break-in occurred. For days after serving her, I returned home from work to find my apartment door unlocked. Rebecca was inside, searching through my filing cabinet. She'd used her spare key, which I stupidly hadn't changed yet. What are you doing here? She jumped. I'm retrieving my belongings. I'm still on the lease. You can't exclude me. You're searching through my documents. Those aren't your belongings. I need copies of our financial records for my attorney. Your attorney can request them through proper channels. She started crying. Why are you being so cruel? I know I messed up, but we can work through this. We can attend counseling. I love you. You fabricated having cancer for 3 months. I was frightened. I thought if I was sick, you'd finally demonstrate you loved me. That you'd prioritize me for once instead of constantly worrying about finances. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. Somehow her faking a terminal illness to steal $300,000 was actually my fault for insufficient emotional availability. I need you to leave now. And leave the key. I'm not leaving until we discuss this. I called the police non-emergency line and explained the situation. Estranged wife served with divorce papers refusing to vacate property. They dispatched an officer who calmly explained that she needed to leave and we could handle lease matters through proper legal channels. She departed, but not before creating a scene in the hallway about how I was throwing her onto the street and how everyone would know what kind of man I truly was. I changed the locks that night. Cost me $180, but worth every penny. But here's where it became genuinely interesting. Her family's next move was challenging the trust. Her attorney sent correspondence claiming the transfer of $450,000 into an irrevocable trust constituted fraudulent conveyance. Essentially, that I moved assets specifically to keep them from her in the divorce. My lawyer laughed when he read it. He called me immediately. Here's the reality. Fraudulent conveyance requires them to prove you moved assets to avoid a legitimate debt or claim. Your wife has no legitimate claim to your inheritance. It was money you received before she claimed illness, and her illness is documented as fabricated. If anything, her behavior constitutes attempted fraud. We can countersue. Countersue for what? Fraud. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. The 3 months of psychological manipulation, the counterfeit medical documents, the coordinated scheme with her family. It's textbook. I considered it. Won't that extend the timeline? Possibly, but it also puts her on defense. Currently, she's playing victim. A countersuit changes the narrative. I told him to proceed. Her mother's response came through the family network. Rebecca's cousin, who I'd always maintained good relations with, texted me privately. Hey, not taking sides, but thought you should know. Her mom is telling everyone you're mentally unstable and that the fake illness thing is something you invented because you couldn't handle her actually being sick. She's claiming you're trying to steal money she's entitled to as a spouse. Classic Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. I sent the cousin some screenshots, just a sample. She went silent briefly then replied, "Holy crap, I had no idea. I'm so sorry." She's not communicating with that side of the family anymore. The divorce proceedings officially started this week. First hearing is next month. My lawyer says the fraud evidence will likely result in her receiving minimal assets, maybe some furniture, her car which is titled in her name, and that's approximately it. The inheritance, already protected in trust, is completely off the table. Small victories, but I'll take them. 6 weeks later. Court was yesterday. Rebecca showed up looking completely different. Gone was the sickly performance. She was fully styled, hair professionally done, nice outfit. Her mother and sister attended as support. They glared at me the entire time. Her lawyer attempted to argue that I had been financially controlling throughout the marriage, that Rebecca felt she had no choice but to exaggerate her health concerns to obtain my attention, and that the inheritance should be considered marital property subject to division. My lawyer presented 1. Timestamped text messages showing premeditated fraud, 2. Credit card statements proving medical appointments were actually at salons, restaurants, and shops, 3. The counterfeit medical documents printed from a template website, 4. A sworn statement from a private investigator who verified no medical records existed under her name at any local hospital or oncology center, 5. Screenshots of her mother coaching her on manipulation tactics. The judge's face was remarkable. I've never witnessed someone transition from neutral to disgusted so rapidly. Her lawyer attempted to object to some evidence, claiming it was obtained illegally, the text message screenshots. My lawyer pointed out that I found the messages on a shared family plan phone that I pay for. The judge allowed it. Then came her testimony. And this is where she truly revealed who she is. Her lawyer asked her to explain her perspective. She launched into this whole narrative about how our marriage was troubled. How I was obsessed with money after my dad died, how she felt neglected and desperate. She claimed the illness story escalated beyond her control and she never intended for it to progress this far. My lawyer cross-examined. You testified that the illness story escalated beyond your control. Can you explain what you mean? I started mentioning I wasn't feeling well and then people were so concerned and I didn't want to disappoint them. People like your mother who texted you to increase pressure and faint if necessary. She was just being supportive. Supportive of what exactly? The fabricated illness or obtaining the inheritance signed over? Her lawyer objected. Judge overruled. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just wanted us to have a future together. A future that required your husband to sign over $300,000 directly to you. Correct. That was for protection. Protection from what? Your fabricated cancer. Silence. The judge had seen enough. In the temporary orders, she ruled, 1. No division of the inheritance, it was separate property received before the alleged illness, and any claim to it was based on fraud. 2. The trust was valid and not subject to marital asset division. 3. My countersuit for fraud and emotional distress could proceed. 4. Rebecca was ordered to vacate any claim to our shared apartment and was prohibited from contacting me outside legal channels. Her mother started yelling from the gallery. This is ridiculous. He's the one who. The judge shut her down. One more outburst and I'll have you removed. After court, I was walking to my car when her sister caught up with me. You're going to regret this. She gave you 7 years of her life. She spent 3 months pretending to die to steal my dead father's money. I think we're even. That money should have been shared. That's what marriage is. Marriage is also not faking cancer. Funny how that works. She stormed off. My lawyer called me that evening. Said the fraud countersuit was looking strong. Her family's continued harassment, the emails, the break-in attempt, now the confrontation after court, was actually helping our case. We're documenting everything. I won't see significant money from the countersuit. She doesn't have assets. But it'll result in a judgment against her which will follow her forever. Every background check, every rental application, every future relationship where someone searches her online. Actions meet consequences. The final divorce hearing is scheduled for next month. My lawyer expects it to be quick. She's getting nothing but what she brought into the marriage. I'm keeping everything that's mine. The trust is safe. 3 months later. It's done. Divorce finalized as of last Friday. The final hearing was anticlimactic, honestly. Her lawyer tried one last time to argue for a portion of the inheritance as compensation for emotional suffering during the marriage. The judge wasn't having it. Called the argument remarkably tone-deaf given the documented fraud perpetrated by the petitioner. Final ruling, she gets her personal belongings, her car, a 2018 Toyota with 89,000 miles, and $4,200 from our shared checking account. I keep everything else, including the trust, which was ruled completely separate property. The fraud countersuit resulted in a $15,000 judgment against her. Mostly symbolic since she can't pay it, but it's on her record permanently. She's required to pay 40% of my legal fees, $8,400, due to the frivolous claims and documented bad faith. She doesn't have the money for the legal fees. Her mother is apparently covering it. Good. Let them feel some financial pain. After the hearing, I walked out without looking at her. Didn't need to say anything. It was over. But of course, her family couldn't let it go. Her mother cornered my brother at a gas station 2 weeks ago. Started screaming at him about how our family destroyed her daughter's life. My brother just got in his car and drove away. He called me laughing about it, but I reported it to my lawyer anyway. We're considering a restraining order if it continues. Her sister went on some podcast apparently, one of those wronged women shows, and told a heavily edited version of events where I was the villain who abandoned her sister during a health scare. Left out the fake documents, the scheming texts, all of it. A few people sent me links. I didn't listen. Don't need to. The court documents are public record for anyone who actually wants the truth. Rebecca herself hasn't tried to contact me directly since the ruling. Heard through the grapevine that she moved back to her hometown, living with her mother, working at a call center. Her credit is destroyed from the judgment. Do I feel bad? No. Not even a little. She watched my father die. She held me while I cried at his funeral. She watched me grieve for months. And her response was to fabricate a terminal illness so she could steal his money. That's not a mistake. That's not desperation. That's not, the stress got to her. That's who she is as a person. And people like that don't change. They just find new targets. The trust is still intact. My brother has been an excellent trustee. We've actually grown closer through all this. I'm using some of the money for a down payment on a small house. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, little yard. The kind of place my dad would have approved of. I started seeing a therapist about 2 months ago. Not because I'm falling apart, but because 7 years of my life turned out to be a lie. And that's worth processing with a professional. We talk a lot about trust, about red flags I missed, about how to move forward without becoming paranoid or bitter. I'm not dating yet. Not ready. Might not be for a while. That's fine. I'm 36, not dead. There's time. Some people have asked if I regret going so hard on her. The public serving of papers, the countersuit, the documentation of everything. No, I don't. She didn't just try to take money. She tried to take advantage of the worst moment of my life. She weaponized grief and love and trust, things that are supposed to be sacred, and turned them into tools for theft. You don't get to do that and walk away clean. My dad used to say that character is what you do when no one's watching. Well, I watched. I saw exactly who she was when she thought I wasn't looking, and I acted accordingly. The house closes in 6 weeks. I'm going to put my dad's old recliner in the living room. It's ugly as sin, but it smells like him, and I'm keeping it forever. That's the real inheritance. Not the money. The memory of a good man who raised me to recognize bad people. Time to close this chapter and start a new one.